This is 25 The Other Side. It is Fortified, Inspiring, Grievous, Encrypted week. So, with this being a Fortified week, for DOS I like to have two different routes. So with it being Fortified, we're actually going to do this first pull with Lust. If it was Tyrannical week, we actually wouldn't Lust here. But with it being Fortified, we are going to go ahead and Lust here. You'll notice that I just kind of focus the Inspired mob, since these are all casters. It's also Fortified, it's also Grievous, so as a tank, take a little bit more damage here. But once the group starts to get a little bit low, and specifically the mob that enrages, I like to go ahead and pull the Woe. And I actually just Touch of Death it, just to make sure it dies. DPS tend to be stupid sometimes, and will kill there, which you don't want. You definitely want Woe for the next thing that we're going to do. So basically right here, try to time it up so that they die about the same time. But we're going to take this Woe and go all the way towards Ardenweald, and go straight into Ardenweald as far as we can, and kind of group up all our mobs. So this here, using Woe here, actually saves you quite a bit of time. Not only do you not have to do that pack right there, but you can go through without using any like other types of skips, invises, or a rogue. Plus the speed increase is pretty huge. So always like to stop there until you see the stuff coming. Basically, as a monk, you can just kind of run and then just cheat torpedo or roll. You're generally good. You didn't. Nice. But then I just like to use the rest of the swell buff to group up some of these ads. Normally, if this wasn't Fortified and Inspired week, I'd probably do a slightly bigger pool. But with it being Inspired, Fortified, and Grievous, just pull this, and I'm setting up for another slightly smaller pool of 6 packs after this one. But basically, you just want to make sure as we're going through here that I'm targeting this Inspiring mob, and just kind of making sure that I'm doing what I can defensively to keep myself up. No knockbacks or stuff like that is going to work until that mob's dead. So you can see I roll away, and now I'm going to put down my Ring of Peace, so that I've got like that as its own defensive, right? If I stand in this Ring of Peace, I basically am taking no damage besides my stagger. So there's a couple different things that I've done here before, but with it being Inspired here, I'm going to go right into the next pack, which is in the middle here. I'm going to grab these 3 stags, and then the pat that has the Inspired bird. The reason for doing this is that the next pull after this is going to be really fucking huge. And while the urn works to stun the Inspired, I won't be able to use things like Ring of Peace, Leg Sweep, use, Spear from my Warrior, Bind, or Tar Trap from the Hunter on the large pack, so I just want to take care of this one first. You'll also notice that I didn't pull the Relic pack. We're going to save that for coming out of here, for a couple reasons that I'll kind of go into here in a little bit. But once again, I'm just kind of trying to save up my defensives here. I'm trying not to use anything too big so that I have it for the large pool after this one. And obviously, I couldn't use things like Ring of Peace or anything like that to keep those off of me. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to group up all these birds. I'm not pulling any of the hatchlings. The hatchlings are really scary to pull in this, because obviously they'll call other birds in, and you don't want that. So I'm doing a pretty large pull here, grabbing this set here, and then I'm going to pull it all together into the urn so someone can take care of that. Now you notice I've already got huge stagger, so like you really want to try to set yourself up, make sure I've got threat on everything, and just kind of let that stagger fall down, and then be ready to roll my defensives. So those silent circles are deadly, like literally they can just kill you. So just be careful with that. You'll notice I used my DOS trinket. I'm going to use Ring of Peace here. I've still got huge stagger, right? 15k stagger. I'm in deadly here. I really should have touched of death there. I didn't touch of death and I died. I also had my health stone. I could have health stone there. It probably wouldn't have just kind of like helped a little bit, but touch of death would have completely eliminated stagger. So that's what I should have done there. Luckily, my DPS were smart and they kited around, and I was able to get back up, and no one else died, which was pretty lucky. So after this, some people like to pull the dragon. I don't like to do that. The dragon only gives 3%. It has a lot of fucking health, and it fears people, and oftentimes it fears them into these invisible mobs here. or the stealth mobs here. So I just go around and I pull all the stealth mobs around the edge. This is a larger pull than what you might do. Like, you might not even pull these mobs right on a 15, but pulling these extra mobs here in Ardenweald is going to set up for skipping the majority of the trash in the Mechagon wing. So I'm pretty much pulling everything that isn't deadly in this wing here, right? So I didn't pull the hatchlings, I didn't pull the matriarchs, I didn't pull that dragon here, but I'm basically going to pull everything else. Now, I'm not going to go into the left area down below there, but I am going to pull everything else that's close, that can give me points and score for the percent towards the dungeon. Here, there is one hatchling there, right? And you'll notice that I targeted it with Skull. I didn't even bother targeting the relics there. I just targeted the hatchling and I was watching it. There isn't an inspired there yet because I didn't pull it, but basically use leg sweep, use para to keep that from shrieking. If it shrieks, it's going to pull the matriarch, and the matriarch's probably going to kill you, especially with the other inspired mob that would be pulled here too. So you notice I waited till most of that stuff was dead, and then I pull it in the inspired, and once everything else is falling, I am going to go ahead and pull the rest of this hallway. So that's going to be these moth dudes over here. I'm going to pull the stags that are down below, and there is a hidden Spriggan pack right here that I'm just going to go in, pull this pack, and then pull the other, and then I've got my defensive set up and ready to go. I've got my Blood-Scale, I've got Celestial Brew, I've got Fort Brew. Now I can just kind of bring these things together, let them AoE it down, and just kind of start rotating my defensives. Always, again, watch out for that silence pull that goes out. It's not fun to deal with. Start just kind of kiting, because again, there's 2 inspired mobs in there, so I can't really use Ring of Peace or anything like that. I'm just kind of getting away anytime my health gets low, so that the shaman can heal me up, or if, give me an extra second to get some heals on myself. Again, I got low, getting high stagger, so I'm going to kite just a little bit. I really do prefer Chi Torpedo over using roll with the speed increase. Blanking on its name right now. Just because, one Chi Torpedo is generally good enough to get you far enough away instead of having to roll and use 2 rolls or whatever. But now that pack's set up, generally you want to have about 47% there. You see that I have 48, so we're good. I'm actually 1 higher than I wanted. And we can go straight into this boss. Now, depending on how strong your DPS is, you'll notice we still don't have Lust up yet. The debuff's still up there from the first pack. That's okay, but you do want to use Lust whenever it comes available on this boss. Generally, as the tank, I'm mostly just kind of looking out to make sure that whenever I see the lightning on a bad person, I'm going to try to move it around. I'm going to try to focus on seeing who had it last, and if it goes on me, I'm going to give it to someone else that didn't just have it. And if someone has it and no one's coming near them, I'm going to get near them. Now, you don't always actually have to go up into the bounce, whatever it is, the teleporter that sends you up in the air, when that explosive is going to go off, the one that's like on everyone from the boss. You can generally just jump and use like a small defensive like Cell Brew, or even sometimes just jumping and not doing anything else is good enough for it. It comes from the ground, so if you jump, or if you're a Demon Hunter and you double jump, you're actually going to take basically the same amount of damage as if you went up through one of those teleporters. So you'll see there, I just jumped and I took less damage than the other people. I did use Celestial Brew just to be safe, but generally that's where I save my Cell Brew for, is either if I've got a high stacks and lightning went on me again, or just to jump, because if you go up, you do take fall damage, right? So the fall damage is almost the same as if you don't go up at all. Now there, I do go up, and unfortunately our hunter didn't. I probably should have just stayed down. That's another reason why I don't like to go up normally as a tank, is it just gives the DPS 1 extra if someone takes, the one that spawned on someone else. Then everyone's safe, so I went up, and then, the hunter died. Don't know if that was on him or on me. Obviously, I took my own, but things happen. So, generally, you're safer as a tank to just kind of jump and not worry about going up. Now we actually got kind of unlucky here because our DPS was pretty strong. Our Lust debuff never came off. So we cleared this pretty fast. But one thing that I like to remind my DPS of right here is that we are killing one more pack before we go. So there's that other relic pack that we didn't pull. We're going to pull that.
It's fucking ground effect, shit, stand effect of DK, cheat death. Oof.
Yeah, so my buddy Vac mentioned that standing in that silent circle looks like the DK purgatory. That's what I was responding to there. But anyways, so we're going to come over here, pull the regular birds and the relic pack here. I end up pulling one extra hatchling. You don't actually need it. I don't recommend pulling the 2 hatchlings on the right because then there's 2. More chance of things going off and pulling more. You don't really want that. Generally, you just need the 2 birds that are here and the woe pack. I let woe die and then I pull in this hatchling just because I'm kind of unsure on my percent. It's a little different route than what I had been taking in the past, so I just pull it just to be safe. But again, there I'm just watching it, ready to leg sweep, ready to paralyze it. You can actually see that I did paralyze it to stop its cry. And then I'm just kind of back on these 3 birds that are here and making sure to interrupt woe. Now the reason for pulling woe here is it's going to get us all back together. Now notice this pack's only going to take us about a minute, so that's kind of a minute out of the way. But the benefits of it is everyone's going to get there at the same time because everyone has the same super speed increase, right? You're going to have a defensive going into the big pack, or if the red guy is padding towards you, or like it's too close in a bad spot, you can go through them.
Woe there specifically for this run back, and also because if the red guy is padding anywhere close, like...
Yo, pass Kyle.
He'll just fuck up.
Shut up, okay? So anyways, if he's coming close, I'll run through that pack and grab the red guy. Now here the red guy is padding away from us, so I just tell them we're just going to wait, start setting up the relic and what I'm going to target, get it out of the way, and then we're just going to pull this. And I've got a couple seconds of the woe buff as an extra, small defensive on me to get this pack started. They went ahead and lusted here. It's not something I would have done, but since we didn't have it for the boss, it's not a bad idea because this pack sucks. It hurts, especially on Fortified and on Grievous, right? So once we get things killed here, I generally like to pick woe, or not woe, sorry, and then I just kind of like to hard target down the because I'm using my defensives here. I've got both defensive trinkets, right? I've used my Shard of the Aegis, I just used Scale, I used Fort Brew. I'm using everything I can, so I really want that dead as soon as possible because it's just going to give me extra healing back to myself. It's going to bring back my defensives and make things go smooth. Now, something to be aware of with the red guy here that we don't have the urn for. Depending on your comp, you might want to talk to them about, like, hey, what defensive is going to be used here. Normally your healer will do that, but generally
who's going to die to this guy?
As a monk here, when his rage goes off, I'll actually help healing with Vivify and some of my other things because it's not really about doing the damage here, it's keeping everyone else safe. So you notice I heal the Shaman, I heal the Hunter. Those are 2 people. Obviously if the Shaman dies, we're all dead, right? But Hunters generally have less defensives, so I help out with them too. Now, second rage comes out again. I'm using a small defensive of myself, and again, I'm just trying to help heal with Vivify.
Someone died.
Luckily, the Shaman pulled his defensives correctly, so we don't lose anyone here, which is really nice. Now, this is where this run starts to go a little wonky. Now, I only have 1 Soothe in this group, right? So because of that, I'm only pulling this pack. Honestly, I could have pulled the other pack, but for safety, because it's Fortified and Inspiring and Grievous, I chose just to pull this one. A lot of times people tell me that DOS is one of their, the keys they're afraid to do. They feel like it's not as easy a key. And Season 3, honestly, DOS is one of the keys that you have more time to do things and, make mistakes than others, especially if you're using the woes to benefit you. If you're using woe to skip into Ardenweald, if you're using woe to skip past most of Mechagon, you actually have a lot of time here. So I'm okay with pulling a couple small packs here, but you're going to notice this is where the run starts to get a little oof. So we lose our warrior there, right?
Ooh, bro, you're so far away.
He stood in one of the explosions. It wasn't even the rage, it was the explosion. And this kind of sucks 2 ways, right? Because now we've got less damage. and we don't have that added defensive, and he could die running back because it does AoE damage, right? So here again, I'm going to pop defensive. I'm going to definitely heal the Hunter. I would watch the Shaman too, but Shaman was taking care of himself, so I just healed the Hunter just to try to help out. And then just kind of get back in here. Now, ideally, we want to finish this before the next rage comes, otherwise someone's probably going to die. But I like to pull this pack before we go into Mechagon, because it gives me a chance that when we come out of Mechagon, I'm not going to have to stop. It's not going to have the DPS stop. A lot of times DPS will use their offensive cooldowns there to try to kill that guy faster. So I want those offensives for the pack that's going to be in front of a Carswing, because that pack sucks too. Now, it ends up being a good thing that we didn't pull this other pack together, because this pack fucking hurts. Like, I'm just almost dying this entire time. So you'll notice I'm just kiting around. Like I said, I've only got one soothe, so one of these guys is getting the full, enrage buff off for 10 seconds. We do pick here. Sometimes I will pick Woe, and I'll use it to skip through, but generally, lately, I tend to just like to pull here, let my DPS...
These guys fucking hurt, man.
Let my DPS take care of things, and then we're going to do one more pack in the beginning of Mechagon that we're going to use Woe there to skip past everything. So, you can pull it here, but the timing is a little funky. Sometimes, because there's 2 mobs here, if you have to kite more, if you pull Woe here, it doesn't give you the full time, and then sometimes you have to end up doing the slimes. Sometimes you don't even have enough time to get through, and someone pulls and dies, and then that's an extra death, right? So I just like to do here, go through, and take the Woe from the next pack, and use that to skip the most of Mechagon. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bypass the lone pack that goes back and forth. You actually don't need to use any like stealth or invis. You can actually just walk past him. You're just going to wait for him to move to one side, and then you can walk right past. But it's Inspiring Week. It's also Fortified. It's also Grievous. So this pack actually hurts. So I want to actually start off this pack by just taking care of these two kind of by themselves, make sure I'm safe. But my DPS has other plans, as someone decides, you know what, I'm just going to pull the other stuff. And I'm like, okay, guess we're going big. And immediately the Warlock dies and reses himself. That kind of sucks, because that was our last BRS. And this is when things start to go wrong. Now, there's a lot going on in here, right? I'm trying to make sure Woe's dying. We need to make sure the Woe gets kicked.
Holy shit, dude.
I needed to start kiting. And no one else kicked it.
That's why I was trying not to pull that
Even though it's
yet.
Inspiring Week, that mob is actually weird. For whatever reason, he doesn't affect Woe right there. Normally they will affect Woe, but this Inspired one, doesn't affect Woe. He'll affect the other spinners, but he won't affect Woe. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so no one kicked Woe. It's kind of unfortunate. So I just set up. I'm only going to pull these ones. I'm not going to pull the other. Healer gets over here. Get the kick off this time. Not going to kill myself. Healer's finally in. But I'm not really sure what he's doing, because he just doesn't heal.
Dude! What the fuck, man?
You'll notice that my healing meters just reverted to the
Is my gear broken?
For this wing that we're starting, right? And he actually didn't heal me at all.
Dude.
So, things are not going well, right? This is the time that some people will just decide it's time to leave. But we've got 23 minutes. We still have Woe set up.
And the Woe's going to pull.
It's
now,
frustrating,
so like...
but you can still do it. I'm telling you, DOS has like the most forgiving timer this season. So, just pull this mob. I'm going to pull all the way back because I'm not dealing with waiting for the healer to get here. I'm not trying to get that pat. Just kind of pull it in, take care of it. Luckily, once Woe or Vi is spawned, they actually aren't attached to the pack anymore. So I was able to pull the dog and the spinner that has the Inspiring buff by itself and leave Woe, even though it's only at like 15%, just leave him up there. So my plan now is, let's take care of this. We're going to take Woe, we're going to go to the boss, and then we'll deal with the other spinner pack when we come out of killing the bosses. So part of, being a tank and being kind of like the quote-unquote leader of your group here is just kind of evaluating on the fly. Be ready to make a change. Like, my plan had us pulling all that. I wanted to pull these two and then pull the other pack in later to DPS had other ideas, didn't go well. It's about adjusting and making sure that what you're going to do is going to work out. We still have 22 minutes. There's plenty of time left on this game, even though we're going to have to do another additional pack after the boss now. Even though we've wasted, I don't know, 3 minutes now by doing 2 full wipes plus the reses. So, to take care of that, we want to make sure, I'm going to make sure that we don't pull that guy. Immediately can just kill this, which is going to give us our stealth. And we're going to go all the way through and go straight to the boss. We're skipping everything else in this swing. Now, I'm an engineer, so I click this. If you're not an engineer, hopefully someone in your group is. I really don't know why you wouldn't be alchemy and engineer. It's like the only 2 things that actually give you a buff. I understand if you actually like buy herbs or herb and then sell them.
Jump
That's fine.
What was scary. I always think I'm gonna just.
But
fly
engineering gives you
into it 'cause
B-res,
of the
right?
small
Allows you
gap
to do
there.
that skip, and then alchemy gives you like just for having level 1 alchemy, which is all I have on this character. You get double flask. So, just saying. It's 2022. You should definitely be engineering and alchemy if all you're gonna do is keys. But anyways, so we skipped all that. Notice we didn't pull anything else. We're really only pulling 1 pack in Mechagon. Kind of 2, right? They're kind of separated, kind of together. But that's all we're pulling is this boss and that pack. So now 20 minutes actually isn't looking that bad. So ideally when you come into here, one of the things to watch out for as a tank with here is the lasers and his thing. The laser does a lot of damage if it touches the boss. And a lot of times your DPS will try to block it, they'll try to stand in the circle. Super easy ways to die, right? Use a defensive, block the line, don't get hit burr. It doesn't actually matter if the zigzag hits the boss here, unless it's the time right before he's about to transition and Maleficent's going to come out. Now, I actually pull Maleficent over to this corner. I know it's a circle, but this area over here. I've noticed that when you pull her on this side, she tends to have the bombs not go nearly as far. Okay. If you go to other sides, the bombs will go like all the way across, but notice that one went super short, right? For whatever reason, if you pull her just to this side by the pipe that's behind me over here, the bombs don't run super far, so use that to your advantage. Notice again, bomb, super close. You can grab those as they're running past. Just be careful. I've had it before where like I was spinning crane kick while I clicked the thing, and it bugged me, and I was not able to do anything. Did he miss? No. One of our DPS decided to AD strafe while targeted by the purple circle and missed. So here we've got another death that was pointless. Luckily, our shaman used SLT and was able to keep the rest of the group alive. But whew, this run is not looking good, right? And you might be thinking to yourself, Kyle, this is exactly why we said we don't like DOS. There's so many things that can go wrong. Like, it puts a lot of strain on your DPS. Like, they actually have to do things correctly. It's true. It's true. But again, I'm going to tell you, DOS is like the most forgiving timer in Season 3. So, I'm going to go ahead and pull the boss over to this side again so the bombs don't go super far. And hopefully here we want to make sure this boss is dying, because I'm pretty sure, Millhouse is dead, so we need to make sure this boss dies. So at this point, I'm really pushing my DPS. Trying to use my defensive so my healer can just DPS as well, because we really need to make this check. Well, I don't think we can afford another, her ultimate, or whatever you want to call it, going off. So, boss is dead, but don't forget, we messed up the pulls before this, so I've still got one more pack. So I remind the DPS, hey, don't just run away. We got to kill this extra pack, and then we are going to start heading towards the car. So, we really just need these 3 spinners, right? We killed the other stuff that was out here. So, just going to take care of these, and then we want to be careful when we leave this group. That other mob that we skipped is going to still pat back and forth, so make sure you don't just run right away. Either use an invis belt, invis pot, or just wait for it to get to one side and then go the other way. One of the big things you can do here as a monk is when the mobs start spinning, if they all start spinning at the same time, you can just leg sweep them. You want to wait until they like start that spin. That's the most deadly part for both you as a tank and for the melee DPS. So definitely use that. You'll also notice I used Ring of Peace to knock them away from the DPS. It doesn't stop their spin. The leg sweep does, but Ring of Peace doesn't. So just be careful with that. And again, I'm trying to make sure I save my defensives. I had to use my blood scale there at the beginning, but the guy had just moved. We're gonna go, and now I'm about to go into this other scary pack that's before the Car Wing as a tank. I've got my Aegis, I've got Fort Brew, I've got some Cell Brews, and hopefully we'll have die at the right time. And it looks like probably too, blood scale will probably come back up in the middle of it. So be careful with this pack. Make sure is dying. Be ready to use defensives, be ready to use leg sweep, be ready to use Ring of Peace. This one is the deadly one. And especially this week, because there's Inspired! Oh no. So casts are going to go off. Also, the disease that these raptors put out, you can cleanse them. I don't care that you're not a healer. Stop being a bad tank. Cleanse yourself. Rant over. That disease actually does make it so you take a lot of damage, so you'll notice. I'm going to go ahead and cleanse it again off myself. Trying to spread out my defensives. I've used everything I have. So luckily we had the Inspired Dod. I used my leg sweep there to kind of help again. Cell Brew came back up. My blood scale didn't. It's unfortunate, but hey, we got things taken care of. Fortunately, they didn't kill which kind of sucks. But we'll be able to use this Vi going into the next pack because the next pack has an Inspired. And it's another pinpoint here where your group can wipe, especially on Inspired Week. So, you'll notice I typed there, we're going to LOS, I need someone to interrupt, and then they need it, you need the DPS to take care of the mobs here, right? So, immediately, I'm going to set up, I'm going to get ready to pull, wait till people are in, I'm going to taunt him, and immediately LOS. Luckily, my Warlock interrupted, that's good. I throw my Ring of Peace there, luckily, the Warrior got a Fear off at the same time, too. But they need to take care of those two mobs. If those two mobs transform in the back there, it's probably going to be another way. But luckily, they knew what was up, they took care of it, and I'm just over here taking care of the Inspired, making sure is dying, and taking care of business here. That fucking pack sucks so much on Inspired Week. Yes, pass Kyle.
I might just skip it, but I didn't kill the slimes this time, since we took forever, so... Plus, we don't have a rogue.
That's another good tip there. If it's Inspiring Week, right, and you have a rogue in your group, instead of skipping all the way to Millhouse and Maleficent, you can actually pull the pack that has the slimes, and then you can rogue skip past the pack that we just did, and skip it all together. Generally, that is kind of a safer move. I've done that before when I've got a rogue, because, again, if those birds, or, lizards, whatever, the devoted, change into those birds that pulsate, the Son of Vicar, it's probably going to be a win. Now, you'll notice I kind of separate these with the Ring of Peace, pull them away, because you can still interrupt them on Star and on Square here, which is obviously what you need to do here. If a heal goes off, it's just going to prolong these pulls. Also, as soon as these other mobs start casting for their Bladestorm before the Bladestorm starts, you can paralyze them, you can leg sweep them. I think you can Ring a Piece too, that stops it I think too. But any CCs that just stop them will stop them from casting
Bladestorm, bro.
Hunter,
you got to move.
Unfortunately, was unaware Bladestorm hurts and stood in it, and that's an ouchies. So another death on the board. Yikes. But notice, this is anything but a clean run, right? Look how many deaths we have. There's so many deaths right now. But honestly, we've only got 2 more trash pulls, the one we're on now, and the one after, and then 2 bosses. So 12.5 minutes, that's actually not too bad. It's not bad at all.
Aggro.
Now, this last mob here does take quite a while. If it's not Inspiring Week and you have enough melee interrupts, you can pull the other pack in, especially with the Resto Shaman. Because it's Inspired again, though, I don't do that here because it's just risking, and we're already kind of low on time comparatively. So, LOS pulley is over. Sometimes you can use Ring of Peace to get that last mob in. But basically, set it up, use the urn here, right? And then try to separate these two casters since it is Inspiring Week. Notice I try to put my body between them. Unfortunately, we don't have anything to take care of the Bladestorm because, again, the Inspired's right on top of them, so I'm just kind of pulling away. But again, I'm keeping my body between the two casters. That way, if either of them cast, I can just drop a Ring of Peace on myself. It's going to knock back the Inspired and allow me to get the interrupt on the other guy.
Avoid.
And now there, I'm able to leg sweep, stop both Bladestorms. And these guys fucking hurt a lot. These guys do fucking hurt a lot, so be prepared to use defensives.
Spread. Avoid. Storm. Spread.
Alright, so here I like to tell people that we're going to be using Lust at 40% on Hakar. I know it's not tyrannical, but ideally you want to use Lust at about 45-40%, because it's the later portion of the fight when there's more of the Sons of Hakars that are up that is harder. So you don't... I know it's easy to want to Lust at the beginning. Let your DPS cooldowns carry you here, let Lust carry you later. Okay, so Lust wasn't up quite yet for us. That's good. I didn't want it anyways. But, you know, just be careful. I told them 50% because it was Fortified Week. Ideally still, probably 45 is a better spot. But you'll notice as these Sons of Akar are coming out, I'm trying to use what I can to either knock them away. I use Clash to pull them close in so that we can cleave them down. You'll notice I'll use Ring of Peace, stun them so that they're in melee. Do things like that to try to keep them together. I know it's awkward, you don't want to stand in it, but the faster they die, the faster, like, you can just go back to, you know, the healer can stop trying to prioritize healing, they can DPS, and it just, you know, makes it easier to take care of these mobs. Plus, if they're dead when they cast Bloodbearer, then they're not counting towards the shield that's going across. So, when blood does come out, as you can, I'm just pulling it away. You know, we're at 36% now. He lusted at like 55. You know, Lust is about to be falling off. It's kind of unfortunate, even though it's Fortified Week. Really, this is why I like to wait until 40% to Lust, because it just gives you that extra haste to take care of these Sons of Akar faster, and then you're not, you know, dealing with more blood bearers. Notice again, I'm positioning myself near where they're about to spawn at again. That way I can just immediately start AoEing. Hopefully the two other DPS and melee can start taking them down. And we can deal with them quickly. Sean was smart, noticed there was 4 up. Put down an SLT, it's actually pretty huge. That's a lot of blood. But notice here, we're about to finish off this boss, and even though we had so many, we had, what, 3 group wipes? Right? 3 full wipes. We've got all these deaths. We have 8 minutes going into this final boss. So yeah, we've got to run the hallway here. But we're going to play it safe. This is how much time we actually have. I tell them, let's not even worry about it. We're going to 2-phase it. So me, the healer, and normally you want to take like the lower DPS or one of the 2 lower DPS with you, right? So healer, myself, and the lower DPS, in this case it's the hunter for boss DPS, and then send the other 2 the other way. And tell them, use your CDs on the boss, not the totems. On Tyrannical, this is actually really huge. If you have the time to do it, as a tank, you really want to do this. This boss, the higher key level you go up to, the more they hurt. You'll notice I'm putting out markers to kind of tell people where they're going. Me and the hunter and the shaman, and then on the other side I mark the warrior with X, and then the warlock so they know they're going that way. To 2-phase it, you can always just use the 2 front, right? If you take front and front when he intermissions, it's going to be, and comes back, it's going to be the 2 front that are the other times you need to take care of. But this boss, his tank buster that he does really hurts. Like, even on Fortified, it's a 25. Watch how much this is going to hit me. Okay? Here it comes. Soul Crusher. And then not only does that, you know, a 30% hit, but it also does ticking damage after. So, that was through a defensive as well. So, just kind of be careful with that. This is the reason you have them use your DPS here. Sure, it might result in less DPS overall in the stage of the fight, but you can use the DPS here. You don't need them for the totems. And it's just safer because we have the time to do it.
Shatter reality.
Now, something to be careful of, though, is that because people aren't using offensive cooldowns here, it can actually be kind of close. The hunter ends up using his cooldowns on this boss, or this totem, which is kind of unfortunate because we really didn't need it. And it turns out the warrior and the warlock, they didn't use it, so our mob actually kind of dies pretty quickly. And the other group, they're fighting for a while. So watch the totem there in the back. You can see it just over like where my mouse is at there. They're still fighting. It's getting kind of close. But as long as you send 2 DPS there, you actually don't need the offensives, right? So now we get pulled together as the tank. I'm going to mark down where people are going just to remind them again, right? Especially during this part. I'm still, DPSing, doing what I can. I'm using my offensive cooldowns here. But tell them again where to go. I actually tell the hunter he's going to the right this time because they needed extra cooldowns there. I have Touch of Death. I'm going to use that on the totem. And generally with that, that's going to do more DPS than... As long as you wait until your health is higher than the totems, it's actually going to do more damage than having extra DPS there. So I was a little worried about how long I took them, sending them that way. And me and the shaman, we're going to go by ourselves. I'm going to send them 3 other DPS. Generally, you don't have to do that. In this case, I think the warrior mentions later that he saved his cooldowns because of how close it was this time. So, it happens. But again, the whole thing here is just being safe. Look, we still have 4.5 minutes left. Right? We got plenty of time.
Move.
Now, because of that, you do kind of want to use... I use a pot here because I sent the DPS away. So this is actually going to be kind of close. But again, have Touch of Death, so it shouldn't be too bad. The key here is just to get its health below yours, and then you can Touch of Death. And I see that we've actually got enough time that I say, you know what, I think I might just save Touch of Death. And I was like, no, never mind, let's be safe. It doesn't matter, right? We've got 3 minutes to kill the boss after this. Why chance it? And now, all we have to do is stay alive, and we win. So, I know some of you out there are a little bit more frightful of DOS, but...
Did I time the Sanguine? No.
As Kyle's going to talk about some past runs
We
here.
died in the last room, and so many people died earlier that we didn't have a res. I walked backwards into 2 traps by accident, as I had to pull an extra bat. And that was GG, which is unfortunate, because we had like 4.5 minutes left. We would have easily timed it. But, time the 25 Plaguefall, and now just a 25 DOS.
So anyways, I've got the run for this, the route for this down in the description below. Make sure to check it out. If you like the video, give me a like. It really does help. Leave a comment. If you have questions, I'm here to answer them for you. But please, don't be afraid of DOS. Alright? I'll catch you guys in the next one.